Hello friends, welcome back to NRISamay. Sincere apologies for the delay, and we're trying to bring in various people from India and then connect to the call, and also wherever you are around the world, a very warm good morning, good afternoon and good evening. Thank you very much for joining in today. So friends, today marks the 150th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda ji, and a couple of years back when I was in Chicago, I was exiting the Art Center of Chicago on the Michigan Avenue. I was perplexed by the street sign that reads Swami Vivekananda Way. So I was just really wondering what is it doing here. I know Swami Vivekananda is very relevant in India, and I was pleasantly surprised to see Swamiji's support in the United States. And I was wondering, it created a kind of interest, enthusiasm, and many different things in my mind. And also wondering why Swamiji deserves such an honorary name. A lot of people, very famous people like Oprah Winfrey and Hugh Hefner and other Chicago legends refer to his name. So also most Americans would not have a clue on. But definitely interfaith activists do have it, and also Hindus specifically in India do have it. A great number of many yoga practitioners and students of Eastern philosophy, and everyone in India certainly does understand the significance of this name, Swami Vivekananda. And this year and also a million more years to come, people will learn why Vivekananda remains a revered figure more than a century after his passing by. So January 12th is the 150th anniversary of his birth, and celebrations and tributes held all over India and also in the West. In fact, Malaysian government took initiatives to commemorate Swami Vivekananda's 150th birth anniversary by introducing stamps. Very, very significant step from the Malaysian government as well. So Swami Vivekananda was definitely far ahead of his times in his beliefs and thoughts. And today we at NRISamay decided to talk to people who are actively working in the true spirit of Swami Vivekananda. So we wanted to find out what activities each one is doing and why celebrating the life of Swami Vivekananda is such relevant for modern day India. So we have Swati Ram live with us from Hyderabad. She works for Youth for Seva, and she's also leading the environment vertical for Youth for Seva. So Swati, thank you very much for joining us today from Hyderabad.
Thank you so much for having me online, Shrikant.
Thank you. And we also have Vikas Deshpande, and he is the National Sahasampark Pramukh of Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh Foundation. He is live with us from Boston in US. So thank you, Vikas, for joining in. I know it's a quick notice for both Swati and Vikas. Thank you, Vikas.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikas. So Swati, first coming to you, Youth for Seva and definitely imbibed the philosophy of Swami Vivekananda. So Swati, tell us a little bit about Youth for Seva and why Swami Vivekananda plays an important role in driving this organization, Swati.
Yeah, so one thing I feel about Swami Vivekananda is whether it's about Youth for Seva or anybody. I can't actually point out and name one personality whose words have been so relevant, for 150 years and still going strong. Because anybody coming forward, we see that maybe with change in society or change in times, we feel that we'll have to, go on with it, and there are changes being called. But if there is one personality whose words are as relevant and as powerful even today, then it is definitely Swami Vivekananda. Because his name just inspires people in every possible field. And so at Youth for Seva especially, there are two things we actually believe in. So Youth for Seva is something where we are giving a platform for people to volunteering, and we believe that Seva is definitely a means of self-transformation. That is exactly in line with what Swami Vivekananda talked about as man-making, right? He said education or anything should be man-making. So that is what every person changes himself, and that leads to a change in the society. And the other thing he said is that besides Jiva, there is no other God. So serve every man as God. There is no God other than that. So this is what we are trying to move forward in Youth for Seva, believing in these principles of Swami Vivekananda.
Very interesting. And also, Also, because we have Vikas also online, the Western connection is of Swami Vivekananda is also very significant, Vikas. So you being United States and also HSS, which is the Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh organization, I've seen over the past few days that you've been massively organizing a lot of activities here in the United States. Tell us, Vikas, about Swamiji's U.S. connection and what kind of response you see in the United States.
Swami Vivekananda's connection to the U.S. is a very well-known fact from his 1893 speech in front of Chicago's Parliament of World Religions. And that was something gave a totally different outlook about not only Hinduism, but overall about the religious perspective, because what he showed was Vedanta and inclusive approach. When he said about that not only one religion can control the whole world, and that kind of phrases that he used created a different kind of attitude. Now, basically, going forward, what has happened that Vivekananda, as Swati was mentioning earlier, he focused on man-making, which is also mission of, or rather than not only a mission, but it is a vision in action for Vivekananda. And that's what Sangha and HSS is trying to move ahead with. So that creating a volunteer, selfless volunteers, and also a good citizen is our aim. And that comes through Vivekananda's vision, mission, and guidance and philosophy. So that's what we are doing. And in last few days, as you asked me about how we are getting response, we are getting tremendous response all across US. We have 150 centers all across US. And today being the actual birth anniversary day of Swamiji, we are having programs everywhere. And they are not only meant for members of HSS or volunteers of HSS, but all the people, regardless of their race, religion, nationality, etc. And we are getting really, really good response everywhere.
Very good. Okay. All right. Swati, just trying to understand. So Youth for Seva generally undertakes a lot of various activities, and I know you are the environment head of the Youth for Seva. So in your conversations, in your meetings or wherever you go, what kind of connection do you establish with Swamiji's preachings and the activities you do?
Okay, that's a very good question actually. So one thing we try to definitely bring in is, right, what Swamiji said was, work hard my brethren, this is no time to sleep, right? He said that the motherland is seated there as glorious as she ever was. Arise and awake, and you can work for it and you see that she'll be more glorious than she ever was. So the main thing we try to bring in people is, how are we all united? We are all working for the society. Like you said, we do many activities. Some of us teach, some of us conduct health camps, some of us are interested, environmental activities. But what is then that one, common string which is binding all of us? That is the love for motherland, right? And that is what Swami Vivekananda actually spoke about. That is what we need to do. All of us have to work hard towards her. So this one point, that it's service to our motherland, which is the main thing, is what we try to bring in all our volunteers. And then we join hands to work together for her. So it's like getting Swamiji's words into action.
Excellent. Very interesting. And also because it's like, it's grossly unjust to brand Swamiji as a Hindu spiritual leader, right? And that's the perception that few have built in. So he was much a social and a political leader, and his preachings are as much about patriotism, as Swati mentioned, and also social and political equality, as much as spiritualism. So how do you guys in HSS really take his branding? Is it more of a Hindu spiritual leader, or it's broad across taking the social, political, and also the equality that he talks about along with spiritualism? How do you guys look at it in HSS, Vikas?
Yeah. Basically, I'm not sure about if Vivekananda was more on the political side. I agree with about social and obviously spiritual side of Vivekananda. And what he did was his famous articles and writings on yoga, and that includes Karma Yoga, Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga, etc. Become like basically guidance to everybody. The way we look into Hindu philosophy is, again, it is an inclusive philosophy, all-inclusive philosophy, where we call Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And this is not only we meaning HSS, but Hindus themselves look Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The entire universe is one family. So we respect whoever want to pray or not pray or anything. So that is not an issue. So that kind of approach we always have. And that philosophy comes, its roots are in Hinduism. And when we say Hinduism, it's not just a simple religion, but it's a philosophy and way of life, as we all know. So that's the main approach that we always use. As far as Swamiji is concerned, he is not necessarily considered even by non-practicing Hindus, non-Hindus, practicing non-Hindus, that as if he's just Hindu or something like that. But basically it is more on his yoga and his intellectual writings that attract people. I mean, I would, in fact, as I think you or Swati mentioned about Oprah Winfrey, even President Obama made sure that he will quote Vivekananda on his India trip. So everybody gets some inspiration from Vivekananda.
Yeah, absolutely. Very true, because Swami Vivekananda is one figure wherein each one can derive their own essence of his life and then celebrate it. Whether it is whether people wanted to do some kind of seva, as the Youth for Seva has started, whether somebody is looking into the spiritual front of it, whether somebody is looking into his preaching about how you take up activities, be active in life. There are so many other things that is. It's a small life, but a well-meaningful, well-thoughtful life, right? So, yeah, Swati, I wanted to understand. You guys interact on a regular basis with a lot of this youth. You know, I was an ignorant youth, didn't read much about Swami Vivekananda. There are some books out there, and then the life is so tricky, and a lot of people don't pay heed to it, and book reading is not really actively pursued in our curriculum. So when you interact with this youth, they hardly have some kind of sense about Swami Vivekananda. And they should definitely have a lot of questions. I know that you're involved in a walk today morning, and when I was speaking to you, mentioned about it as well. So what kind of questions do you get about Swami Vivekananda? You know, can you throw some light on how youth react and whether they're really understanding this amazing figure properly?
I mean, it's difficult for anybody to actually understand him properly, because I remember it being said somewhere that only if there was another Vivekananda being born, only he could comprehend whatever this Vivekananda did, right? So even one page out of his book is going to be very difficult. But one thing I would like to quote here, what one of the very senior monks I used to interact with in Ramakrishna Math said was, he said, youth are not useless, they are actually used less, okay? So nobody is actually, there is a lot of energy in the youth, like what even Swami Vivekananda made out. But they need a platform where they can express it, right? So when they are not just given a right platform, they try to, use that energy in all possible directions. So when you are actually able to give them a platform, so you can see so many youth participating in this. Like today's march, what you were talking about, we actually took some 100 slum children on a march and called many of our volunteers. So at even 7 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday, when they can, wake up late or have a leisure day, so many of them come there. So they are actually, they're actually open to it. It's only that there was nobody or there is nothing giving them what they're looking for. So that is why, I think youth are not maybe participating in some things. But when you start something like this, like a movement, Seva as a movement, actually you see some of them taking the plunge and being very good at it too.
Right. Absolutely, Swati, because Swami Vivekananda said that activity is life and inactivity is death. And it's
yeah.
it's very reasonable for people to get involved in some meaningful activity. And I've been following Youth for Seva for a little while, and I know it roots started up from Bangalore, and I'm seeing that you guys are truly imbibing that particular fact of involving people in some kind of an activity, and that also is an essence of what Swami Vivekananda has definitely preached. And he also says that salvation is not achieved by inactivity, also kind of activities you do. Yeah. And because you're on call right now, I just wanted to quickly understand, broadly celebrating Swami Vivekananda's life just by prayers or just by the devotional songs, the spiritual enlightenment oneself is something. It is good, but there's not much that can be done beyond that. So, in the United States, I've seen you guys doing some aggressive work in making sure that this 150th birthday of Swami Vivekananda is celebrated in the right spirit. So what are the activities that you guys planned, Vikas?
Yeah, that's a good question. Basically, in addition to today's event that we are calling Launch Day or Sankalpa Din, where each center and the location wherever we are having, in addition to our centers, celebration of Swami Vivekananda's 150th birth year, we are having basically everybody is going to come up together, have some events on some talk by chief guest, then commit something for this year, and also have one small documentary on Swamiji. So that is just today's event. But that is a beginning of a big celebration. And it is not just celebration, but to come up with some ideas which are like an action-oriented program down the road. So one of the things is that, as you earlier said, that you didn't read too much, and it happened with many of us, including myself, that we don't read too much Vivekananda. We always know only brothers and sisters of America, and that ends everything. So instead of that, what we are doing is that for all the kids, we have come up with a classic story, exam-oriented and competition-oriented event called Dharmabi. In Dharmabi, what we are planning to do is have various level competitions and quizzes for kids from up to 8th grade, 8th or 9th grade. And basically that is going to create a competition across the US. And initially it is going to be online, then it is going to be at different centers locally, then semi-final, and the final will be in Chicago in the month of May. So that is the whole idea about that. In addition to that, there are various locations where Vivekananda himself went and explored the America. So we are going to have certain events where the youths will do explore and go and visit the places where Swamiji went, not just Chicago, but many other places. So that's another thing. The final thing is going to be culmination of all events, and that is going to be a major event in September, preferably on September 11, the day he gave speech in Chicago. And that is going to be the event on Yoga and Dharma Fest. So what Yoga and Dharma Fest is that it is going to be various activities and interaction among the broader American community, including Hindus and non-Hindus.
Very good. Awesome.
And one more thing I would just like to add, and that is in all these events, locally there are going to be a lot of seva activities also, because seva is one of the key things, as Swati was also mentioning. Vivekananda always used to say Nara Seva is Narayan Seva, so that is something going to be also equally active role. That will also play active role during our events.
Awesome, awesome. So also Swati, you mentioned that you've done a walk with all these slum-dwelling kids. So what are the other kind of activities that the Swami Vivekananda was actively preaching about how the education system should be, and his philosophy is mind-boggling. 100 years back, somebody saying that somebody defining how our education system should be, and what kind of role. So he was clearly mentioning that education is, we want a kind of education by which character is formed and strength of mind is increased, right? So, and also how the intellect can be expanded. So what kind of fundamental problem or fallout that I see is because of course maybe Swami Vivekananda was branded more on the here as a Hindu ambassador who was propagating the Hindu philosophy. Other than that, there is true real essence of Swami Vivekananda that's not going to the younger generation. So what kind of awareness programs? It should be something like West Bengal had a chapter about Swami Vivekananda. And eventually, after the communist government came into picture, of course, we don't want to get into the political side of it, but eventually those chapters were removed from the syllabus. But give us a perspective of how the real essence of Swami Vivekananda is going to the younger generations. Do you have any idea in India how it's being propagated?
Yeah, one development I can see now is many of the universities have started, running Vivekananda study circles in their colleges and universities. So even at Youth for Seva here in Hyderabad, we have started a study circle where, all people are welcome to come. Every once in a week we meet, and there's a person who is running it. So all of us try to read together and see what his life was, because what Vivekananda became was also hugely, dependent on how he was raised in his childhood and all that. So it gives perspective of how much parentage, your education, everything has an impact on the personality of anyone. So this is one thing that I've seen, and at least to fill this gap, what we are doing this year is on February 10th, we are doing a huge event called Chiguru, right? Chiguru in Telugu is sprouting up, talent, whatever,
right.
Sprouting up. So we are getting all students from across, many orphanages, slums, government schools, all for an inter-school competition. Like about 2,000 children will be participating. There are about 20 competitions we have designed, and all of them are on the theme of Swami Vivekananda. Like we have little books of his quotes, jumbling of his quotes. So this is a huge event which we are planning so that Swamiji's words actually reach every person. So we are not spoon-feeding the children on anything, this is the essay you'll write or something. Our volunteers are going and telling them stories, telling them his life for a long time now, so that the children actually imbibe them and actually decide on their own. They come that day and participate. So some learning has gone to them from that tender age. That's one more thing we are trying to do this year.
Very interesting. Wow. And also, it would be a really personal question but of course I thought of bringing this up because I want to seriously understand why each one would connect themselves to the philosophy of Swami Vivekananda. What drives you the most in believing his philosophies? Is the social consciousness, spiritual consciousness, religious consciousness, or is the concept of yoga, which most of the Western world brings it up a lot of times? So religion, social consciousness, out of all these various factors that Vivekananda has touched upon in his life, which one really grabs your attention and drives you towards his philosophy?
That's a tough question. I feel I'm one of the blind person who is trying to understand the elephant. So, and literally there are a lot of different aspects when we think about Swamiji. But again, it goes for individual by individual nature, liking, and aspirations. So somebody can like spirituality, somebody can like social, somebody can like purely intellectual aspect of Swamiji, and yoga, same thing. I'm personally, because this is a personal question, I'm more like a social person, and I like to be part of social activities and have some contribution, not just social activity meaning meeting friends and that kind of thing. That obviously I like it, but I like to have some social responsibility. So that particular aspect of Swamiji always fascinated me. Even when I came in 91 and in the US, and when there was an event and everything in 1993 about his centenary celebration. So those things are always something fascinates me.
Awesome. I know, Swati, if I could take the leverage of asking you the same question. There are For this personality, it's as Vikas mentioned, it's like talking about an elephant who's excelled in many different fields in a short span of time. So what fascinates, because this question is very important. It's good to understand why each youth or anybody who's young is getting motivated to his philosophy. What drives it? Because he has got multifaceted, right? It's social. He talks about economics. He talks about spiritualism. He talks about love for God. Every dimension. So what actually dragged you into more about thinking about Swami Vivekananda, Swati?
Yeah, so actually my family has been going to Ramakrishna Math for ages, and so my mom used to take me all the time. But of course I used to just sit with her, listen to talks, recite bhajans and all that. But when I was reading his complete works, there was this one line which said, they alone live who live for others, the rest are more dead than alive. And continuing on which he says, at least if you can do one act in your life without expecting anything in return, right? Just one act one day. It will give you more satisfaction than anything else in life can do. Of course, it takes a lot of time to reach there, because even now if you get into volunteering or do something for the society, there is something I'm also getting out of it. Otherwise, I would have never done it. So I really want to know what it is like to do something for somebody without expecting anything in return. So that one aspect, what he says, I mean, he said it so simply in a line, but I think it is so very difficult even to follow that one line in your life. So that part of his thing that he could so, he actually saw God in men, like he said. He cried when he went to US. We all have read that he sat and cried when he was offered a cot to sleep on, that my people in India are so poor, they don't have a mat to sleep. So he actually felt for them. He lived in everybody's life and he felt so much for them. That was what, that is the part of his personality which is very attractive for me actually. And of course the fearlessness, I mean, the way he talks of, he says anybody can meditate on anything, but I meditate on the heart of a lion because it gives me courage. So that fearlessness, I think, is something very amazing. It's not very easy to get, right? Not being afraid of so many things in life. So these two things I can say for me are very attractive in Vivekananda's life and messages.
Excellent. The concept of fearlessness that you talked about, Swati, and also the concept of doing something without expecting anything in return, because the modern day world has literally changed the whole perspective of living, right? And in this phenomenon of things going around you, the negativity, people expecting everything, anything you talk about, they expect something from you. So it's good that the concept of fearlessness and also doing something good for the society without expecting any return, I think it's definitely a conscious great concepts of Swami Vivekananda that you have imbibed. In this perspective, I wanted to ask, because of course my memory is a little volatile. I framed a question and then lost it in the whole frame of the conversation. But because I wanted to ask you, it's been almost 150 years. Let's imagine Swami Vivekananda was just short-lived, and then in his very short time that he has excelled. What is the best preachings of his that is most apt to this modern world? So what is something that Swami Vivekananda told that somebody has to imbibe so that the modern world is safe, better, secure, and meaningful?
I think basically if we go through his just a very small but one of the most powerful speech, which is the Chicago address, the first one, because afterwards for next 17 days every day he was talking, but the first one where he talk about all these issues in a very concise manner, that all religions are equal, and second thing is that the way our philosophy says that all the rivers go eventually to the ocean. Same thing, anybody pray for any god, but eventually he will reach to the ultimate Almighty, that kind of thing. And while talking all these things, he also said that if we all come together, then the fanaticism will go. And he specifically mentioned about that thing in 1893, and he was hoping in 1893 that this will happen. So right from that point, if we see all his different speeches during Chicago address or even afterwards, why we fight, and I don't recall exactly the name, I don't have in front of me, but why there is a fighting between different religions, that kind of speech he had. And it was amazing that he was again insisting and requesting everybody to work together. He also said that I feel pity that if somebody thinks that my religion is the only religion. So there are a lot of different things we talk on a religion basis. The other aspect he covered, and that is also equally important in the modern world, was the yoga. I mean, when he came, there was a big, ignorance about Hinduism and all the Hindu philosophy or all the Indian philosophy in US and in the West. But he actually is the pioneer, and he is a different kind of Columbus that US got, and who showed what India is. And that kind of work he did. And today yoga, as we all know, is at every corner in the US, particularly in urban area. So that was another thing that he has done. The third thing is we cannot forget that, and that is seva and selfless work. That is equally important. I mean, regardless of the time, there are always people who need some help. And he showed that thing, and again and again, that religion, I mean, he was the person who was searching for God, and the person who has seen God. And eventually he said that Naraseva is Narayan Seva, because he realized that that is the ultimate thing where we can find a God, because a hungry man cannot find God, but in food. So that is a simple thing he did. So a lot of things we can say. The final thing I would say, I'm sorry, but basically the other thing he talked about was about the youth and the philosophy. He said that if you want to really learn Gita, play football. Now it's an example, but what it means is that basically you had to be active. You had to have muscles. You cannot be weak. You cannot be afraid of something, and you have to you have to be fearless. So you just name it, and everything he said in his very short span of life.
Absolutely. And Swati, I'm sure you would have had an opportunity to read few of his books. I just wonder, even before I let you guys go, I know it's been more than 40 minutes that we have been having this conversation. So while reading his book, it's just a fascinating experience. And I know that you would have felt the vibe while reading his books. So if you could share some of the stories that inspired you the most, and that is something that we got to tell the world. What are those stories, Swati?
Like I was talking about fearlessness. So there is one story from his childhood where he and his friends are playing, and they climb a tree to pick fruits. And so this old man who is in charge, the owner of the tree, scares them away, saying there is a ghost. Everybody runs away from there, but Naren says, Vivekananda, then Naren, he says, how can you even believe something somebody is saying, without even having seen that? So that character of questioning everything, he continued all his life, because Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was his guru. But even on Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's deathbed, we see that Vivekananda did not accept anything before questioning him. He thinks in his mind that even now, if this person can show me that he is God, only then I believe. And Ramakrishna answers that who was Rama in Treta Yuga, and Krishna in Dwapar Yuga is now Ramakrishna. So that thing of questioning things and not blindly accepting them is one story I always recollect. And the other one which has touched me most is Vivekananda's upbringing, which I was talking of even before. So once Vivekananda comes home and asks his father, what is it that you have kept for me? Where is the wealth? What is it? So Vivekananda's father takes him in front of the mirror and says, see, this is what I'm leaving for you. I've made you what you are. So that, I think, is a very big lesson, for all parents, all children. And that's the best thing our parents can give us. And for any parent, that's the best thing they can leave for their children. So that one thing is something I quote almost wherever I'm asked to tell something about Vivekananda. So it's very inspiring in a way. So
I know. I've seen your YouTube video of your Youth for Seva convention. I've seen that video once, and you bring up this quote of brethren, jump in and then do some activity. So yeah. I've seen that. Yeah, it's inspiring, and it's that short 2 minutes of video just gave me some understanding of something that you guys are really serious about, and then doing something about it. And also, the most important, I wanted to ask you a question: what kind of preaching of Vivekananda is apt to the modern world? And you answered me with your story itself, the art of questioning, right? The fundamental
right.
biggest problem that we have in our society is when democracy is all about people, institution, and politics, and people, though they're very, very fair, and Swami Vivekananda told that it is true, and he's brought in the sense of how to believe a person from India and how to believe a person from Europe. Then I understand that our people are really, really truthful in their living, in their style, but they lost this power of questioning somehow in the track of events. And that is which is very significant, that the young youth should learn going forward, the art of questioning. And that's the biggest lesson that we could take and apply it in the modern world of what Swami Vivekananda has talked about.
Yeah, and since you're talking about takeaway, I just want to mention one more thing, where Swami Vivekananda says, you're an atheist, more an atheist if you don't believe in yourself than you don't believe in God. So have faith in yourself and the world will be at your feet, he says, which I think is a very big lesson. We see so many cases now, just getting less marks in class, people brood over it, and I think because of the rat race or whatever. So our Youth for Seva founder keeps joking that even if you win a rat race, you're still a rat, so why participate in it? So yeah, that faith in yourself is so important for the younger generation, especially with all the competitive world we are in now. So that's one more thing I think the youth should really take from his life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Vikas, how about you? Any stories that you wanted to tell our listeners? I think Swati's story is very short, simple, and sweet, and a lot of message in that. Anything that you wanted to share, Vikas, which is good?
Not specific. I mean, what I feel that during all my involvement in HSS and activities, whatever we are doing, that particularly reflects, as I said earlier also, that his vision in action. And that his vision is one, as Swati said earlier, about asking questions. And the other one is obviously to create a human, the full-fledged human. So that's something always fascinated me, and that's what I'm always looking forward for, even for my own development. So Vivekananda, in a way, personally helps me, and organizationally also, I always feel that it helps, and society also gets help from his vision.
Excellent, excellent. And also, most important thing on this specific day, the way to celebrate is talking about him, having a conversation, opening up ourselves, and then understanding some of the fascinating things that he has talked about. And that's exactly what we three did. It doesn't need any celebrities. It doesn't need anybody who's big in the society. It's all very critical and important for all of us to sit together and then talk. And I'm truly delighted and honored to have both of you today on our show. And thank you, Swati, and thank you, Vikas, for sharing your experiences and the kind of work you do. It doesn't matter whether you're a religious person or a spiritual person or a person related to yoga or somebody who's related to education or whatever it is, any part of life, a true, meaningful effort from any youth is worth mentioning. And I'm surely confident that Youth for Seva and HSS is truly working in the spirit of Swami Vivekananda. Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Thank you, Swati. Thank you. And friends, just to really recollect on all his various different quotes that Swami Vivekananda mentioned in the past. So there are some quotes that I've written for myself and which I wanted to read it out. Everything can be sacrificed for truth, but truth cannot be sacrificed for anything, and that's what Swami Vivekananda has preached a lot of times. And there are fascinating quotes out there. God has become man, man will become God again. Also, if it is impossible to attain perfection here and now, There is no proof that we can attain perfection in any other life. The part of the Vedas which agrees with reason is the Vedas and nothing else. So he's truly modern, and he has brought in perspectives in the 18th century which we could apply to any century going forward as well. So also he said, if you want to do anything evil, do it before the eyes of your superiors, and that is very apt for the modern generation, which will shape the younger generation and also the young kids. So that's a good message from Swami Vivekananda. If one is a slave to his passions and desires, one cannot feel the pure joy of real freedom. Also, never mind if your contribution is only a mite, your help only a little. Blades of grass united into a rope will hold in confinement the maddest of the elephants. Excellent quote there. So strength is life, weakness is death. Also he talked about education. We want the education by which character is formed, strength of mind is increased, the intellect is expanded, and by which one can stand on his own feet. Also, let the heart be opened first, and all else will follow of itself. Also he said, tell the man his defaults directly, but praise his virtues before others. Excellent quote that anybody out there could apply in the modern day world as well. Activity is life, and inactivity is death. I'm sure when we had conversation with Swati and Vikas, that's exactly what they're mentioning about. Vikas was mentioning that it's all social work that drives him towards any philosophy and doing some kind of an activity that is useful for society. That's what he was looking for. And also Swati mentioned the kind of activities they're planning as far as Youth for Seva is concerned. So definitely activity is life and inactivity is death. Aptly defines anybody, whether it is this generation or millions of years going forward. That's the absolute truth. Salvation is not achieved by inactivity, but by spiritual activities. And if somebody wants to pull the string of spiritualism from Swami Vivekananda, and that's one other quote that he has put it out to the world. So I'm hope friends we had a meaningful conversation and also understanding various different people, their work, the kind of actions that they truly believe in today. And thank you very much for tuning in today. We appreciate your time. And from NRISamay desk, this is Srikant signing off. Thank you.